The Texans, to me, did the right thing in hiring David Culley because they hired somebody whose main goal wasn't to keep DeShaun Watson in town, wasn't convincing him to stay. It was being able to resonate with the entire team because guess what? It seemed like he wasn't going to stay. If you had a Hail Mary hire to try to do whatever you could to keep DeShaun Watson in town, and it didn't work, if he was just so fed up with the organization that no matter whoever you hired, Eric Bieniemy, whatever head coach, Jabo Sweeney, whatever head coach DeShaun Watson wanted, he was so fed up with the organization that he wanted out. So it's a good thing, at least in my mind, that you hired somebody that, even if he did leave, could still command the respect of the entire team. His message wouldn't be lost to the other 52 guys because the main guy he was brought there to keep there isn't there anymore in DeShaun Watson. So he can connect to players. He's a positive culture creator. I like that. And that's why, again, despite having no clue who this guy is, I'm not going to pretend I know who David Culley is. Heard of him last week. That's why, at least to me, the traits that he has are good for the Texans. With that said now looking at it, right, because this is a done deal. This request has happened. He is not playing another snap in Houston. You don't make this request and come back for it and take it back. He is done. So now the question is, where does he get traded and how much does he get traded for? I want to bring up an argument I said a few weeks ago. Back on January 14th, so exactly 2 weeks from today, before anything was known, before anything was certain, we discussed why, you know what? It looks like DeShaun Watson is going to get out of town. Texans won't be able to keep him. And now with that in mind, how many teams could justify not trading for DeShaun Watson? Would you want your team to trade for DeShaun Watson? Before, I don't say it's a pipe dream, but, there was uncertainty. There's always the thought in the back of the head that, hey, maybe they'll figure this out. Texans aren't dumb enough to screw this up where you're going to have the owner of the team single-handedly drive away the franchise quarterback. Because think about it. DeShaun Watson is requesting a trade, not because he's fed up with the results on the field, not because he didn't like the head coaching hire. He is fed up because of the process that this team has had in hiring their general manager, basically saying, this is what we're going to do, Sean. We're going to include you. We want to hear your input. We want to learn from the mistakes that we made that really took down this organization this past year or two. And we want to fix that. We want to go in the other direction. And instead, they listened out. They listened to what DeShaun Watson had to say. There was no ultimatums that, hey, you got to hire the guy I say. It was, we want your input. We'll take it into consideration, and we will decide. And then instead what happened, Cal McNair said, thank you, but you know what? We're going to listen to Jack Easterby. We're going to hire Nick Caserio. We're not going to tell you. You're going to find out on social media just like everybody else. And DeShaun Watson said, you know what? Screw it. I'm done. I've done this song and dance before. I've done this last year where Bill O'Brien trades DeAndre Hopkins, doesn't even give me a heads up. You tell me, you lie to my face, and this is going to be different now. Things are changing. Times are different. And then you just go run back your same old ways. Same thing happens. Like I said, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. DeShaun Watson was fooled last year. Bill O'Brien pulled the rug out from underneath him, pulled the rug out from everyone, really in the NFL, by trading DeAndre Hopkins for, let's call it for what it is, crap. They got nothing back. So they fooled DeShaun there. Shame on the organization. He's not getting fooled again. They tried to do the old okie doke. Yeah, we're listening to you, Sean. And then here's Jack Easterby in Cal McNair's ear saying, hey, we got to get Nick Caserio. We're going to forget what the search firm says. Forget what DeShaun Watson says. We're going to do what I want to do. And Cal McNair listened. So good for DeShaun Watson wanting out. He's absolutely valid in his demands. And he's doing the right thing in getting the hell out of town. So now, let's look at the rest of the NFL. Because now, guess what? It's not a pipe dream. It's not a 1 in a million shot here. This is a 26-year-old quarterback by the time next season starts on the market for any and every team to get. So I'll ask you a very obvious question. And really, I'm more interested in those, if they don't agree, what their reasoning is. But do you want your team to trade for DeShaun Watson? I made this argument a few weeks ago. I want to bring it back up because I think it's obviously very relevant now. In my mind, there's only one team now out of the rest of the 31 that could justify not trading for DeShaun Watson. That is obviously the Chiefs. DeShaun Watson would not be an upgrade in Kansas City over Patrick Mahomes. That is obvious. But in every other situation, for all the other 30 teams in the NFL taking the Texans out and taking the Chiefs out, DeShaun Watson is an upgrade at every other quarterback position in the NFL for one of three reasons: his age, his production, his consistency. Let's start with age, and let's go right back to the source where we started the show and talked a lot about Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. I understand Aaron Rodgers coming off an MVP season. Again, you just heard me explain the reasons why I think it would be smart for the Packers to trade Aaron Rodgers. If you are able to trade Aaron Rodgers and you get 3 first-round picks back, wouldn't you want to use those picks to try to bring in a bona fide stud quarterback in DeShaun Watson? Are you going to trust DeShaun Watson, 3 Pro Bowls in 3 years, top 5 quarterback in the NFL? Or are you going to trust Jordan Love, a guy who didn't even dress at all this season? He wasn't even good enough to be the backup. So while I think it's the Packers won't cut bait for Jordan Love in favor of Aaron Rodgers, when you trade for a guy who is 11 years younger than Aaron Rodgers that can keep your championship window open a decade longer, you do it. So despite Aaron Rodgers having a better season and being an overall better quarterback than DeShaun Watson, I still think because of age, he opens up your championship window for longer. He would be an upgrade over Aaron Rodgers. I don't have to explain, really, Pittsburgh why he'd be an upgrade over Big Ben. New Orleans why he'd be an upgrade over Drew Brees, which I don't think he's even going to come back. Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston. Tampa Bay, even with Tom Brady, despite what he's doing, again, you open up your championship window for a lot longer with Deshaun Watson than you do with Tom Brady. Even Seattle. All the dysfunction that's going on there, Russell Wilson getting older. Not that he's old, I believe he's 31. Still, 5 years younger. You're able to keep your window open in Seattle for longer. So age. He is a upgrade over every other quarterback with an older guy there. Consistency, flat out, let's call it for what it is. He is more consistent than Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, Jimmy G. Consistency, he's more consistent than all those guys and has more talent than all those guys. He's been in the league 4 years now, Deshaun Watson. 3 of them healthy. I remember he tore his ACL 7 games into his rookie year. Hasn't gotten hurt since. Well, he hasn't missed a significant amount of time, I should say. He's gotten hit because he's gotten just crushed behind that horrendous offensive line. But he has been to the Pro Bowl all 3 years he's been healthy. Even this year, despite having the worst team in the NFL. He had by far, the Texans assembled by far, the worst roster in the NFL. If you take Deshaun Watson off that team, they are going 0-16, and it's not even close. So 4-12 is a minor miracle. Not to mention, he made three Pro Bowls in 3 years, despite the coaching declining as he's gone on. Let's just call for what it is. I like Bill O'Brien. I think he's a good play caller. But when it comes to being a general manager, he's horrendous. When it comes to personnel moves, he's terrible. And he flat out seemed distracted trying to do 2 jobs at once. So the coaching got worse as his career went on. The team itself got worse as his career has gone on. Again, you traded away DeAndre Hopkins just past year. Instead, you replaced DeAndre Hopkins with Brandon Cooks. Will Fuller got busted for PEDs. And Randall Cobb. You replaced him also with David Johnson, an injury-prone running back, who, since he got paid from the Cardinals, has not been anywhere near worth the money. Team has gotten worse. Coaching has gotten worse. Deshaun Watson has gotten better. All those guys listed, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, Jimmy G, all have had up and down in their career, peaks and valleys. They've gotten and they have had team success more than Deshaun Watson, right? Lamar Jackson, individual success, won an MVP. Josh Allen got to the AFC title game somewhere Deshaun Watson hasn't gotten to. Carson Wentz helped lead his team and would have won the MVP if he stayed healthy. Jared Goff's played in the Super Bowl. Jimmy G has played in the Super Bowl. With that said, None of those guys are as consistent as Deshaun Watson has been. So that's why, at least in my mind, for the Bills, the Ravens, the Browns, Titans, Eagles, 49ers, Rams, Deshaun Watson is an upgrade over all of those guys. He is steadily improving and growing and doing so at a very consistent rate. And finally, speaking of talent, I mentioned it before, he is more talented than the other group of quarterbacks that are left. Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, Kyler Murray. Hell, I even throw Trevor Lawrence in this mix. Because, again, despite what I talked about with the team getting worse and the coaching getting worse, Deshaun Watson got better. So this year in 2020 specifically, they went 4-12. And obviously in the offseason, he lost DeAndre Hopkins like we just mentioned. So not only do you lose your number one receiver, one of the best receivers in the game, you also have the second worst rushing offense in the NFL. And you have one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL because Deshaun Watson got sacked the second most times in the NFL. So despite having an awful offensive line, a non-existent run game, and you lose your number one option and one of the best receivers in the NFL, Deshaun Watson still, this season, led the NFL in passing yards, 4,823. The number one passer in the NFL in terms of yards is Deshaun Watson. He was second in passer rating behind Aaron Rodgers. And I'll go back to a stat I mentioned before, Aaron Rodgers had a 121.5 passer rating this year. Not only was that number one in the league this year, that was his second highest in NFL history. The second highest passer rating in NFL history is the only passer rating this year that beat Deshaun Watson. He threw for a career-high 33 touchdown passes. Not only was he throwing more touchdown passes, he threw for a career-low 7 interceptions. And, again, despite losing a vacuum, because that's what DeAndre Hopkins was, right? He was a vacuum. You throw the ball anywhere in his area, he's sucking it up. He's catching the ball. One of the most sure-handed receivers in the game. But despite taking him away, Deshaun Watson still the third highest completion percentage in the NFL this year at 70.2. It also was a career high. So let me ask you this question. If you're on the fence about wanting your team to trade for Deshaun Watson, thinking that, maybe 3 first-round picks is a little too much of a haul to give up, if you will. What other quarterback in the NFL, when you lose one of the best receivers in the NFL, when you have literally no run game, so every team knows the pass is coming, and the offensive line is a sieve to where you have no protection. What other quarterback in the NFL is leading the league in yards thrown, is second in passer rating, throws for a career high in touchdown passes, throws for a career low in interceptions, has the highest completion percentage of his career that also happens to be the third highest in the NFL? Like, honestly, how many other quarterbacks are saying that? How many other teams are saying that, hey, if our team goes to crap, our quarterback will still rise up and be one of the best in the NFL? Outside of the Chiefs, no one else can say that. That's why, as we sit here, and Adam Schefter, if you're just tuning in, Adam Schefter just reported a few minutes ago, Deshaun Watson has officially requested a trade from the Texans. What other team outside of the Chiefs can justify not trading for Deshaun Watson? My answer is no one. I don't care who you are. The Bills? Yeah, he's an upgrade over Josh Allen. The Ravens? He's an upgrade over Lamar Jackson. Packers? Deshaun Watson is an upgrade over Aaron Rodgers. I can go on and on and on. I'm sorry, you're not going to find a team that you can convince me Deshaun Watson wouldn't be an upgrade for in either age, in terms of being young at 26, opening up a Super Bowl window that's longer than your current quarterback has. So either age, consistency, despite the team getting worse around him, he's been to the Pro Bowl every single year he's been healthy, and flat-out production. You took away his most important weapon. You had no semblance of a run game, and he had one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, and he still led the league or was close to the league in a lot of categories and had career highs in passing touchdowns, career lows in interceptions. He is a better alternative for now. If you take out the Chiefs and you take out the Texans because they want to trade him, he's a better alternative for every other of the 30 teams in the NFL. You can't sit here, in my mind, and tell me Deshaun Watson is not worth it. If you're the Jets, if you're the Dolphins, if you're any team right now, I'm sorry, cannot convince me that your current quarterback situation is better without Deshaun Watson than it would be with it.